Testing, testing. Tell me about the day the world.
All right. How's everybody doing? Trickle on in. All right, everybody. We made it. Welcome, welcome. Let me kill the music in the background. Today, we won't have background music. As you can see, I've got the wonderful Jolly Roger with me on this stream today. How you doing, Jolly?
Doing great. How are you?
Good, man. Good. So, for those of you who don't know, he is one of the moderators on Patreon and just a super knowledgeable 1911 aficionado like the rest of us. And yeah, 45. That is Jolly, indeed. So yeah, we're gonna. I want to do things a little bit differently on these live streams, where, you know, we are gonna respond to comments and do the thing that we usually do. But I want to start bringing in other people, and namely, one of those is going to be Jolly, because he. You know, we become fast friends, and he knows a lot about this gun, and so yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So, first order of business, because basically we are going to talk about magazines today. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on magazines. Jolly sent me some really good pictures, and we're going to go through that. But I first want to say hello to everybody. Monkey says, I ordered my first commander-sized 1911 today. $300. Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy how good a deal they are. Yep. Crack, how you doing? Everybody's here. The whole crew's here. DB's here. 45's here.
Usual suspects. Huh?
All the... the motley crew.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Cool.
That's right. So what I want to do is we're actually going to pull up some pictures here. I want to do a quick run through of some things we've got going on here. So, Jolly, can you see that?
Yes, I can. Yep.
All right. So first off, just some announcements. I've had 5 1911 projects going on lately, and videos coming out on all of them, just so you guys know. That is the Toad. It has been reborn, and it came out way better than I thought it was going to. And I'll be honest, like, I had it sitting beside me, and, like, you know, I had like 5 guns in here earlier, and I was looking around like, where's the Toad? It just blended in with all the other good-looking guns. So the Toad's alive. It's done. And so That video will be out tomorrow, late morning at our usual time. So there's a preview there. Oh, Wyoming's here. How you doing, brother? Matt from Wyoming Gun Project. Good to see you in here, man.
Welcome, man.
Yeah, man. And you know what? We should pause for a second and just talk about how much fun that was. Being on his stream the other day, man, that was a lot of fun. And I thought it was a good, like, I got a lot of good messages and emails from that with people just saying, like, man, like, it was nice to see the it's not the usual gun guy lack of decorum. Like, it was a very good discussion. And, yeah, I was really, really thrilled to be a part of that.
Yeah, I rewatched the whole thing yesterday morning.
Yeah. So,
Very good.
a few other notable mentions here. There's the Springfield. And that one, got a video coming out on that one. We're going to revisit the Springfield. I've kind of done some things to that one. We'll talk about that. Here's the real. This is the real one that I wanted to just talk about for a minute. So that's blue. If you guys didn't know, I rust blued blue today, and it came out remarkably well. Not perfect. I'm not winning any contests, but man, it has that rugged GI look to it. So yeah, I had to show you guys that right off the bat, that it looks really good. So I'm still experimenting with that rust blue a little bit. I did some small parts first, and then I did the full gun. And, you know, like, there's some spots you can see on the grip safety there. It's a little splotchy. That has more to do with my prep work. There's some things I should have done differently. But the top of the slide is perfect. I wouldn't change that. Like, that's really rich and deep. Yeah, and there's a great picture. So, anyway, there's a little bit of show and tell there. All right, let me just do one more catch up here on the comments, and then we'll jump into it. All right. Yeah, Matt, it was great talking with you. Yeah, we got to do T-Sauce for sure. There's a lot to say there. There's a lot to say with the T-Sauce stuff. All right. Yes, OG Bucks hat for the win. So I got this hat not because I'm a giant Bucks fan, but because when I was really into football, the last football game I went to was in 2012. It's been a long time. And I went to a Bucks game when Josh Freeman was throwing for them. And I think in that season they were running the creamsicle stuff, the old school logo and the creamsicle stuff. And this hat's just it's my favorite hat. So, although I'm a loyal Succaneers fan, I like them no matter what. It's funny, a lot of people think that, like, I'm super proud that Tom Brady went and threw for him. And, like, you know, like, that's such a great time because they won a bunch of games. That was the Giants inside the Buccaneers' skin. That was not really the Buccaneers, in my opinion. Or not the Giants. Who did Tom Brady throw for? See, this is how far out of football I am. All right. So, let's jump into the mags thing. So, basically, Jolly, this is something that's really important. Like, we've talked about this a lot, and I probably get somewhere around 5 comments a day with people saying, hey, you know, I've got this gun, I'm having this issue, da-da-da-da. And my first question is singularly, what mags are you using? I can put up with, Patriots, thank you, Crack. I called him crap. Nope, DB, you're in the right stream. Just a brief brush on football. So yeah, that's the first question I ask is what mags are you using? I will overlook somebody using a weak mainspring and messing with all that stuff. You can't mess with mags. They're correct or they're not. And so anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up, and forgive me everybody, we're going to have like an infinity screen for just a brief second. And okay. So these are in no particular order, I'm sure, but Jolly, you let me know when you want me to go to the next picture, and we can, we can just talk through this.
I'll just tell you what we're looking at here. The magazine on the left is a Checkmate GI spec mag. You look at the feed lips on it, you see they're straight all the way out.
Yeah, that's weird.
It has the dimpled follower. The one in the middle is one of our favorites. It's the Springfield magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I think currently like 1159 at Midway.
That's right.
But if you look at the difference between the two, you'll see that how the feed lips flare out right about even with the dimple on there.
Yep.
And that's what's called a hybrid magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It was introduced by Colt, I think, in the mid or late 80s. And I'm not sure if it was originally a Checkmate thing or it was a metal form thing, but now they both make that style of magazine. So you can see that there's quite a bit of difference. Obviously, the one on the left, the original GI spec, is the Browning spec designed to feed hardball. The hybrid magazine feeds everything well, and it's really the best. That's what most manufacturers have settled on as far as a overall design. The one on the right is also a Checkmate, and if you order magazines online, especially if you're ordering Checkmate specifically, sometimes it'll say CMF. That means Checkmate follower. And that has the patent on there. There'll be other pictures of that later on, but it has the same hybrid feed lips design on there. They just went a little bit further with the follower itself.
Yeah, and so I think something just to highlight as we go forward, in chat, we're going to come back and check on you guys in just a few minutes. So if you've got questions and whatnot, we'll get back to them in just a minute. But so what's really important, one thing that's really easy to notice is, so if you look at the feed lips, right, here they all kind of have the same width and angle at the same point. But that's not true for all magazines. And this matters because the feed lips are really like how long is that magazine holding on to that bullet before it releases it to the next stage of the feed cycle. And this is why this very tiny little detail that a lot of people don't even notice, it's very easy for this to become an issue when you have feed lips that are too short or too long or even too tight. That's been a thing before. So anyway, yeah,
exactly. Here's the same three magazines looking from the front. You see the one on the left there. Mm-hmm. That's the Checkmate follower, as it's called. It's quite a bit different. And the whole idea behind it, as you can imagine, is to keep it from tilting forward.
Yep.
Which I think is kind of a non-issue. If you have an issue with the follower tilting, it's usually because the spring is gone on it. It's just weak.
Yeah, I've always found that, like, the Springfield mags, as long as the spring is good, they don't tilt, ever. I've never really had that issue.
I haven't either. The one with the Checkmate follower, that's a good mag. I just think it's a little bit overkill.
Yeah.
It is patented, obviously, it says so right on it, but I don't think that they made a really significant improvement on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, there's the same three magazines, the bottom. I wanted to point out, if you see the one on the left in the middle, you see the one on the left has the C. That's a Colt factory magazine. The C is for Checkmate. The one in the middle is a Metal Form magazine, and has the M stamped in it. And they go back and forth. They get the contract, it alternates back and forth between the two. And I have magazines going back into the 80s that are like that. So it just, you don't know what you're going to get with the new Colt, but you'll get one or the other probably. Yep. And then, of course, the one on the far right, that is a current Checkmate GI spec mag right there with the contract number on it.
Yep. Okay.
It's the same three we were just looking at.
Yeah. But it is funny though. This is worth, and hopefully I'm not reading ahead here in what you were going to say, but um, people talk about like I only buy Colt mags, and what they don't realize is literally like there's like 5 mags that are the same magazine. They're made by the same people. That one just happens to have a pony on it.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah, we're going to cover that in a couple more photos anyway. So,
Yep. Okay.
okay, here I added a fourth one, the one on the far left with the star. That's a Chip McCormick shooting star, and it actually has the wad cutter feed lip design. And I've done a lot of shooting with those with all kinds of ammo, and you need to shoot wad cutter ammo with those.
Hmm.
You really do.
I have 2 8-round shooting stars, and they do not run in anything.
Yeah, I've had good luck with them in my Colts, but only with certain types, really the type of ammo it's designed for. I
Yeah.
don't think I got a good photo of the follower, but it has a very unique follower, which is basically split like a leaf spring. And they're noted for having the nose of the follower nosedive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, there's those same 4 looking at the followers from the front.
But
You
I
can
also
kind of see on the Chip McCormick, it's just a V-shaped leaf spring basically is what
Mhm.
they designed.
It's also worth pointing out, look at the different angles of the front face that's cut out here. See, these
Yeah.
kind of go all the way across the diagonal. This one stops in the middle and goes straight. And, look, it might seem like nothing, but this is what it means by, when we talk about things being in and out of spec. If you have a properly built 1911 and you got properly built mags, when we say that, that's a huge generalization. But the reality is, this is those little details right there, in those changes in different designs. They add up to something.
Yeah, now here I threw in a couple of Wilson Combat magazines. The one on the left is the original 47, the 7 round.
Yep.
But notice they have basically the wad cutter feed lip design.
Mm.
And the one on the right is their new version, the ETM 500. It's an 8 round. I've used both of they're great, but they're $45 a piece. And the thing is, we all marvel at Browning's genius.
Yeah.
Well, he designed the 1911 to be a controlled feed device.
Yes.
And the Wilson Combat magazines, they kind of thwart that. You lose the feed lips of the magazine lose control of the round before it actually gets picked up by the
That's
extractor. It kind
exactly
of gets shoved into the chamber.
See, this
So-
right here, we got to camp here for a minute. This is one of the things. So I have a lot against Wilson Combat magazines, but this is my biggest one, is that the feed lips, rather. How many pots have you smoking? So these feed lips, if you guys can see how far back they start, whereas the others start to open up, a good bit forward. And so when that cartridge is about to hit the feed ramp, that magazine needs to maintain control of what the bullet's doing until it hits the feed ramp, and the breech face of the slide now takes control of it. But with these magazines, it pops out of the mag and is sort of free falling, floating for a second as the slide is going forward. And this is one of the many reasons why I say Wilson Combat is not, like, people just drink the propaganda Kool-Aid so fast, and they're like, Wilson Combat mags fix malfunctions. No, they do freaking not. That is just not true.
Now, I'll make a rifle comparison here for our rifle shooters. If you look at the Wilson Combat magazine, think of it like a Remington 700, which is a push feed design,
Yeah.
and then compare it to like a classic Mauser design or a pre-64 Winchester Model 70, which is controlled feed, where the cartridge rim goes up under the extractor
Yep.
as it's being chambered. The 1911 is designed to do exactly the same thing. These magazines, I've never had a problem with them. I didn't buy them to cure any problems. I bought them out of curiosity, just to see how they work, and they work fine. Also notice the follower on the one on the left. That's the 47, the 7 round. It's a convex follower, and the ETM and the 47D use a concave follower. It's quite a bit different.
It is. And all these little things add up. So, you talk about stacking tolerances. It's like, man, if you have a gun that's a little bit out of spec on the feed ramp, and then it's a little bit of spec, say, on the breech face, and you just go down the list, and then you throw in a magazine that's trying to do something unique and special, to put it nicely, doesn't always work.
Yeah, and I know I can't see any comments. Obviously, I can't hear anything. But I know Matt did a really good deep dive of his own on magazines recently. So
yes, he did. That was a good video.
If either of you want to add anything to what I'm saying, this is basically a generalization for people who have never even heard of some of these things, but they could be, using the right spec magazine. You need to start there.
Yes.
And don't go buy 4 Wilson magazines at $45 a piece to try to cure a problem that's probably, really because you're using an out of spec magazine. What those essentially do is they release the cartridge early, and it just kind of gets thrown into the chamber. So, but they lose control of the round very early.
Okay, real quick, I'm just gonna come back to the chat. This comment grabbed my attention. Let me back up a little bit. So Felonius said, I've had bad luck with Chick McCormick mags. Yeah, I mean, I used to be a big fan when I thought 10 rounders were cool, of the Power Mag, and those always worked for me, whereas the Wilsons did not. Those 10 round mags from them did not work that well. Where's that comment? Joe, I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name, heard that the plastic followers are better than the metal ones. No, it's not true. No. For 2 reasons, and I want to hear what you have to say, Jolly. So, for one, I have broken 2 Wilson Combat followers. Over time, that plastic, it's plastic. It does what plastic does. It starts to give and age, right? Well, basically, you have the top of the follower, and then it has a front and a back. So it's kind of like a square horseshoe, I guess. And that front piece of the plastic gets a little give in it, and then it wants to pop out, and the whole follower will come out. So that happened to me once, where the whole follower just shot straight up into the action, jammed the gun up, smashed the follower to pieces. And then 2, plastic gets chewed up. Over time, that plastic starts to get chewed up, and you get little flecks of plastic into your action. But yeah, I mean, do you have anything to add there?
I do, actually. The issue I have with them is the little tab that kicks up your slide stop. Those things wear pretty rapidly.
It's a great
and once
point.
they get mashed over, worn off, or even flake off enough, then you're not going to have your slide lock.
Yep.
You'll have an empty mag, but your slide won't lock back. Now, everybody says, well, you just call up Wilson, they'll send you new ones, which they do. Their customer service is excellent. But I've got some magazines. We'll see one later on in the display here that are from the 1970s.
Yeah.
And all I've done is replace the springs in them. The followers look like they're new.
It's hard to destroy a steel follower.
It really is.
That takes
the entire
some work.
magazine. Yeah, the entire magazine, the original design, really, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I heard somebody tell me the other day they were making the case for, basically they had it in their mind that plastic followers and a removable base plate is a must on 1911 magazines. And then he goes on to tell me this story of how he had a welded base plate magazine, and he went to go do a reload and smacked it in, and the welds all cracked and the magazine flew apart. And I went, that didn't happen. If I'm going to put my money on a welded piece of steel versus a piece of plastic in a slot, my money's going on the steel. That story was a little wonky. Oh, here's the comment I wanted to get to. Wilson Combat, this is from Big Trev. He says, Wilson Combat magazines cost $79.95 in Australia. Ooh. So first of all, you need to overthrow your government. That's my first comment. Second comment would be, I thought you guys couldn't have guns. So you got to help us out there, dude, because that's like a fascinating comment. Um, let's see here.
Let me say that I am not considering myself an expert, but I've got experience with this stuff back into the 80s. So coming up around 40 years, 1911s, magazines, things like that, shooting them, reloading for them, all that. So if anybody has a differing experience, post that so we can read it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the great thing about these live streams, man, is you guys really drive what we talk about. We have this magazine thing to talk about, but there's always so many good topics here. Okay, so here's a good one. James asked, what's the purpose of the little bump on the follower?
The little dimple on the follower is to keep the last round properly lined up because it has nothing above it to keep it perfectly lined up. And that assists it when it bumps over that little dimple on there and hits the feed ramp. It's going to be at the same angle as if it had rounds on top of it.
Bingo. Yep.
And that's a Browning thing too. That was in the original patent on them.
Yeah, that's right. And what I've also found, this is a very like niche view, but it's just something you notice over time. When you have a completely flat follower, your cartridge is in contact with that follower, like front to back, right? But with that little dimple, the only part of the cartridge that's in contact with the follower is that dimple. And so when the mag starts to get dirty and everything, that last round doesn't get gummed when you have a dirty magazine.
Exactly.
Let's see. Okay, let's go back to our photography. Let me... There. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's go.
There's those same two Wilson magazines looking at the followers from a different angle. You can see one's convex and one is concave. And how open the front of the magazine tube is.
See, that to me is a problem. Because that follower, I'm telling you, man, it like when mine popped out, all it takes is for the front of that follower to get a little bit worn out and a little bit of play in it. And that follower wants to shoot straight up. And then when the slide goes home, man, and that's a bad jam up. Because now, not only is the follower jammed up and in pieces in your action, but the spring's all up in there. It's a mess.
Major disassembly.
Yeah, that's right.
So I added another magazine on there, and that is the one on the far left is an Ed Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, the follower on that one and the one in the very middle are a little bit different, but you can see that it's a skirted follower, and it has the patent on it.
They have the same patent number.
Checkmate, I don't know if that was the thing Ed Brown mandated when he was still alive, but they do have the dimple on the Ed Brown magazines. Otherwise, it's the Checkmate follower like the one in the middle.
Yeah. Interesting. And I'm kind of just doing a scan here. So if you guys even just look at like the feed lips themselves, look how sharp the shooting stars are right there. They're very like bent in a lot farther than some of the other ones. It's just interesting. And listen, if you don't think those tiny little pieces and angles matter, they do. Oh, this
and
is
there's
good.
Another view there with the Ed Brown on the far left.
That's cool.
That's a 7-rounder. And there you go.
Yep.
So here we have a Checkmate and another, I'm trying to think what that one is there. I got that one here. Oh, the one on the left is a Kimber magazine.
Yes. So we should talk about that.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of magazines that we like. They all came from the same place.
got it right here.
Let's see.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
They're both Checkmates, but you can see that the Kimber magazine is a Checkmate. So if you have a Smith & Wesson 1911, they use them also. They're used by quite a few companies that make 1911s.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there's a few identifiers, and this is the most obvious one, that all these mags are made in the same place. Checkmate, Springfield, Colt, Kimber, who else? There's a bunch of them that are all made in the same place. They all have the same 45 ACP stamp on the left side. They have the same welds. The placement of their witness holes are the same. The followers are the same. You do find some variation in finishes, right? Like some of them, and that's really dependent on whose name is stamped on it. Like Kimber will very often do like a high polish stainless. Colt obviously is going to have their slightly different follower and pony on the bottom. But overall, these mags, like the chassis is the same. They're functionally almost identical.
So what you're looking at there on the left is a Checkmate with the Checkmate follower and a Checkmate with the classic follower, the Browning design. They make both, and you can get both. But notice everything's the same. The tube is the same. It's just the follower is different.
Now, I'm guessing the one on the left is an 8-rounder?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So that's something else I was going to point out is you normally have 5 witness holes on a standard mag, standard 7-round. So if you see more holes, you usually got one more round in there.
Yeah, if you could go back to the previous photo, maybe it was before that. There's one. Yeah, if you look there, it says Colt 45 Auto 8-round.
Yep.
That's the magazine that's in the other pictures.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And, well, I'll save that for the end. I was going to say something. Which, by the way, right now we have the most viewers we've ever had on a stream. We have 85 people right now, which is really cool. That is awesome. Yeah.
So what we're looking at here is on the far left, that is our favorite Springfield Armory magazine.
Yep.
With the hybrid feed lip design. The middle is the Checkmate with the hybrid feed lip design. And on the right is a Chip McCormick. They call it a classic. And if you look, other than having a silver follower, it's identical to the others.
Yeah.
7-round. But if you go to the next photo there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You see there's the one with the Checkmate follower.
Yeah.
There's the Springfield magazine in the middle and the Chip McCormick classic on the right.
So right away I knew the Springfield's in the middle because it just has these little features that I prefer. So you see on, if you guys can see my mouse pointer right here, the portion of the follower that pops up on the slide stop, you have this little assist. It's just like an extra little ooch, right? And people don't realize how much of a big deal that is right there. But this is a big, like I have a bunch of like bargain bin magazines. They measure almost identically to the Springfields. They're very similar, but they fail to lock open when the springs get even marginally broken in. And I think this is a big part of it is, the front of these followers, when you start to have, worn out springs, they just don't have that pop to really point that last round up as you want it to, and then really hold that slide stop up. But that little piece right there, it makes a big difference in functionality.
It does. And then you could have also a worn or out of spec slide stop.
Yeah, great point.
That could make up for that as well. You got some wear on it, especially like on an original GI if you get a CMP gun or something like that. That little bit of metal on the follower can make a difference on something that's worn.
Awesome. Okay, so I just want to pause real quick. So Big Trev responded about the Australia thing. He said we have bolt-action rifles, shotguns, and handguns in Australia. I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought you guys would get put in a gulag if you even had a pellet gun.
Yeah, I thought they could have them, but they have to be kept like at an armory off site from their house.
Yeah.
And then you have to make arrangements to go shoot them, I think. I'm sure he'll answer if that's correct or not.
Yeah, let us know, man. I'm super interested. I mean, I still think you need to overthrow your government. That's just me, but um, it's all right. He said Australia has more guns now than before the confiscation program in '97. Just no semi-automatic rifles. The government doesn't trust us. Yeah. Well, you shouldn't trust them.
I'll never trust a government that doesn't trust its citizens, right?
Yeah, amen. Well, I just stick with the first half of that. I just don't trust the government. Okay, so there's a glaring, obvious point on these three mags here. You want to go over these?
Sure. If you look at the one on the left with the seam down the back, that is your classic $5 gun show magazine there, bargain bin, and they're almost certainly made in a communist Chinese country.
Yeah.
So, but that's one of the dead giveaways is the weld down the back.
I mean, look at the machining, and like this is clearly like pot metal.
Now I could see one of those splitting if you dropped it or something or slammed it.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
They look basically made to spec. I've tried them and they run okay, but they seem to be made of inferior materials. I think we could all imagine, So.
Oh yeah. By the way, I'm just looking at the comments here. Mucky says Dale Gribble is my spirit animal, and Chris Reeves says Pocket Sand. I'm a big King of the Hill fan, so that right there just touched my heart. I love it. Shisha. I love that show.
Okay, this is just another look. Chip McCormick Classic on the left, the Springfield Checkmate in the middle, and the Checkmate with the Checkmate follower on the right.
Yep. Excellent.
I've shot the one on the right. I've used those a lot just to try them out, and they seem to work fine. I've never had any issues with them. I just think that it's one of those things, they fixed something that wasn't broken.
Yeah, so Raul Jimenez says, how about the Springfield magazines in stainless steel? They seem much slicker. Yeah, I mean, those high polish magazines, they are. That's a fact. And it really just makes them feel nice for, loading and unloading. But real quick, I was wondering, man, if you could touch on, I wanted to go back here. So this section up here, this little cutout is different on a lot of guns, and I have seen people have issues where the 1911 is actually, they think that it's getting caught on these corners left and right of the magazine. It's actually this little cutout when you have an out of spec magazine. It's not leaving room for the breech bolt.
That's correct.
Do you have any?
Sometimes that cut is much higher toward the top,
Mm-hmm.
so the amount that's exposed in the back is less. And yeah, definitely, the slide will hang up on that when it tries to go into battery.
Yep. Absolutely. That's a big one. Now, here's what I'll tell everybody. No manufacturer is perfect, especially at the factory level. Even our beloved T-Sauce with Springfield mags, you might have some issues. Here's my 2 cents on that. If, for whatever reason, I have had this happen once on a Springfield, where basically just the mag over-penetrated. You got two options. Don't use that magazine if you're having interference with that area, or there's our little friend, Mr. Dremel. So, real easy way to solve that problem. You literally just, use black marker and mark where it's, impacting. Let it impact a bunch of times. Hog away the area with marker on it. Now, you got to be careful because you don't want to get near these corners. That's a really strong, important structure there. And you don't want to just go willy-nilly. But anyway, that's probably what I would do. Not for everybody, but
Okay, on the left, that's a current Checkmate GI, and on the right is a 1970s Checkmate GI.
Interesting.
And I have a couple other photos of those that I sent you. Yeah, there's the one on the right, that's probably 50, 55 years old.
I think I have a
put
couple of those.
thousands of rounds through that magazine, and all I did is a few years ago, and they were working fine. I have several of them, but I just changed the springs in them a few years ago. They were all still working fine though.
So yeah, we should touch on that too. That like I did a video on this recently where I had two of the first. No, it was the two first 1911 magazines I ever got. They came with my Springfield GI, and I just changed the springs in those. They just now started having problems, but like when you have a well-built magazine, the bodies on these, the followers, they're basically indestructible. Like, can they have problems and break and crack? Absolutely. But man, it's rare. I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
I have a two-tone World War I magazine, and I have not done anything to it except load it and shoot with it, and it still works. I don't know when it's ever had a spring replaced in it, but it's pushing 100 years old, and it still works fine.
I love it. So I think that's the end of these pictures, right?
I think so.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to bring up that I got from an old timer back in the early or mid 80s with regard to magazines, and he was a World War II vet and did gunsmithing. He built 1911s to 50s through the late 80s. And he said you need to basically, he called it seasoning or training a magazine. And I've done this ever since I met that guy. But when I get new magazines of any type, I load them up full, whatever their capacity is, and I let them sit about a week, and then I consider them ready for use. If you buy Wilson Combat or go on their website, they will even tell you to load one of their magazines and leave it sit for a day or two, 24 to 48 hours to let the spring set. So, but it's something an old timer taught me. I've always done it. It seems to work great. But I usually load them full and let them sit for a week. Then I download them and I go shoot with them, or they're in the box ready to go.
Yeah.
But I consider that part of my routine with new magazines.
Now, do you do because the ones that the magazine springs that I use are like they're plus 10% power.
That's what I use, the Wolf Plus 10. I buy them in bulk.
Yep.
And that's what I use.
Yeah. I just find that like, I mean, there's such a thing as too much tension, because you can get to the point where like, the breech bolt can't properly pick up that next round because it's so tight in there, right? And that's really what you're trying to knock down with by preloading them.
Exactly. And you guys that shoot commanders, you also have to keep in mind that you have less dwell time because you have a shortened slide and barrel. So everything has to happen a little quicker. Mm-hmm. So you definitely need to have good, strong, or fresh springs in your magazines if you're shooting anything shorter than a standard government model. So I buy the plus 10s in bulk. I think you can get them in like the packs of 10 or something.
Yep.
And I have some here in my stack of stuff, but that's another thing that's cheap. You should consider magazines to be consumable. I mean, if you're out at the range and maybe you step on one and it's visibly damaged, it's probably done.
Yep.
But if you take care of them, and this includes doing reloads and dropping them, they should not break. They should really not be damaged. Maybe if you drop a full one and it hits the toe of the floor plate, it might break. It could. Yeah. I can see it busting a weld if it's you got a heavy column of ammo in there. But generally, like I said, I've got 50-year-old GI spec magazines. They run like a Rolex.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so Glenn Whistler just asked a question, and this was actually the thing I wanted to get into next about magazines. We got to talk about this whole 7-round versus 8-round thing. And there's a lot of folks who really, they can't, like, they're hung up on the 7 rounds thing. They think that's not enough. I'd say that's not really statistically true at all. But there's a reason guys like us prefer the 7-rounders. And, well, I'll let you go first. I want to hear what you have to say about it. But this is there's a reason. It's not just because it's old school and original. It's not that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be, for some it's lapsing into futtery, but it's what it was designed to work with. Mm-hmm. And if you remember in that series of photos, that 8-round magazine there was the same exact tube size as the 7.
Yep.
So, yes, you can fit 8 rounds in a 7-round tube, but you're losing spring capacity there,
That's right.
which means you're going to lose feed reliability. You're also going to lose longevity.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's another thing when you're talking about capacity, and I'm not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers, but how many
Let it
people
fly.
watching right now might say, if they're running down to the local Stop and Rob, they'll throw a J-frame in their pants, in the pocket, or they've got like a Ruger or LCR or something like that,
Yep.
that has 6 rounds in it, and they consider that adequate. Well, if a J-frame Smith is adequate at any time, then it should be adequate all the time. If
Yep.
you consider that, safe, functional, and useful, and will protect you, sufficiently, then what's wrong with a 7-round, 45 mag? And you guys that shoot 9mm 1911s, you're looking at 10 rounds or 11, 10 plus 1 in some cases. So, then you get into the whole issue of states that have magazine capacity limits of 10.
Yep.
If you believe in 8-round mags for your 45 1911, and you get a good 8-rounder and do an 8 plus 1, you're almost at your legal capacity in some of those states.
Yes.
The bottom line is the statistics just don't bear out the need for high capacity.
Right. Now,
You
this
see
is not.
the technical guys that have their channels, and they've got the Glock 19 and they've got 6 33-round magazines plus one up the spout.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that you're adequately armed to go out in public.
Yeah. It's funny. I put up a short on YouTube and on Instagram earlier, and it was of the new of Blue being redone, and the song that's playing over it is 45 from Shinedown. And it's the lyrics of the chorus are staring down the barrel of a 45. It just doesn't have the same ring staring down the barrel of a 9mm. Like it just doesn't work. But back to the mags thing, like that. So everything you just said is so true. To fit that extra bullet in there, you have to use a thinner spring that compresses more. So your first 2 rounds might function like a 7-rounder. But the further up you go, the more rounds are expended, the less spring pressure you have at the apex of the feed of that 8-round magazine. And then not only that, like to your point, those smaller springs, they're thinner wire diameter, they wear out quicker.
And there are fewer coils too.
And they're fewer coils. Now, there have people think flat wire springs are just like the solve all. They're not. Flat wire springs do some things well, but I'm of the opinion that I think John Moses Browning kind of just nailed it on the first try. I think, and look, you got to think at that point, how long had he been building guns? 30 years? 40 years? It's not like he was a novice. He understood exactly what he was doing with a lot of little things. In fact, even just like the controlled feed concept, you see that repeated in a lot of his guns where he wanted a really secure feed. You go to the 1885, the 1892, several of those guns. He really liked that. But what you also see is there's one theme I have seen across John Moses Browning designs, and that is they're stout. The way they handle cartridges is stout and in control. And when you start changing that and you go with these, noodle spine springs to fit one more bullet in there, I just don't think it's worth it. And especially, the worst thing for a spring is not to be loaded or unloaded. It's to be bent back and forth and back and forth. It's to be used frequently, right? The way you break metal is not bending it, it's bending it back and forth and back and forth.
It's the number of cycles that it goes through.
That's right. And so even the best 7-round mags have a shelf life on their spring. And now you're going to go and diminish that with an 8-round mag. It just doesn't... They don't work as well. They really don't work as well.
That's been my experience too. I've shot a lot with 8 rounds, and the thing I've noticed, they just have short spring life.
Yeah.
Everything else works fine. You have to remember also when the spring starts to go flat on you, it's at the worst possible time. It's the last round.
That's right.
So that's when it's going to choke on you. It's not going to choke in the first 1, 2, 3 rounds.
Yep.
It's going to be at the end. So, that a weakened spring doesn't have a lot left to get that last round up there and in place and in time also. That's the other thing.
That's a big point right there.
Dwell time is so important on these guns that the round has to be in place at the right time to be picked up by the breech face and the extractor.
See, this right here, this is another thing, really important. This is why I'm not as much of a fan of the super heavy recoil springs, because you're diminishing your dwell time.
Exactly.
And when you watch these guns in slow motion, the slide goes back, the round pops up, and it's like bouncing in the magazine as the slide is coming back forward. Well, when you decrease the amount of time that slide is at the rear and then going forward, you're kind of playing with the recipe.
And you got to give those rounds a chance to get up and get in place.
Yes.
And I do not knock Glocks. I like Glocks.
Me too.
But how many people the first thing they do when they get one is they probably already have a whole bunch of parts they've ordered before they pick the thing up, and they've got to start changing everything. And the 1911 is a very easy pistol to do that on as well.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fun of it. But as we all know, there are very few drop-in parts on one. And if you come back to what you just said just a moment ago, Browning kind of got it all right. By the time that pistol was done and the Army approved it, it didn't need to have anything done to it.
Yep.
He got everything right. It took a long time. If you look at the genealogy of the 1911 and how it came about, going back even to like the 1899 Colt that he was experimenting with, and the 1900 and everything, it took a long time to get it perfected.
Yep.
And the Army meddled in it a lot too. If you remember, a lot of you probably know that the early versions had an external extractor, and that's how Browning designed it. The Army wanted that changed. They wanted an internal extractor.
Yep.
So, but by the time that thing was approved by the Army in 1911, it was perfected. He got everything right.
Yep.
We've talked also about the size of the ejection port. Well, it worked well for decades and decades. If it didn't, it would have been fixed in 1912.
That's
a lot of things would have been corrected pretty quickly when the Army started buying those.
And we also have to remember too, when they built these guns, they shot the brakes off of them. I mean, their testing was vast. I mean, they were confident enough to go into a 6,000 round live test in front of the government with their 1911. They tested these things extensively. Now, I do want to make one point, and I'm going to get to some comments here. There's a video that I've been working on. I'm conceptualizing it, but it's basically, is the 1911 perfect? And there's actually some things that I think John Moses Browning was wrong on. One of them was that external extractor. I think that was a bad idea. I love the internal extractor. I think external, it's just a debris vector. It's going to be a problem, and it's another spring to fail. Whereas, man, how often do you have to retune a steel extractor, like an internal? Once you get them set, it's done,
Yep.
But the other one, and this is a big one, is the grip bushings. I freaking hate those grip bushings so much, man. Like, I just think, I actually have this idea, and I hope somebody hears this and takes it and you make $1 billion doing it. I think there's a better way to do grip panels on a 1911. And it's basically like M-LOK, where now with modern machining, in the side of the frame, those little cutouts, the openings in the side of the frame, you could cut channels into the sides of that opening so that you turn the screw in there and turn it, and that locks the grip in. And it's nice big wide steel paddles, right? So you turn the thing in there and lock it, and maybe it's got like a little detent, so it clicks in there. Getting rid of the grip bushings, because I freaking hate them, man. Like, it's just a wacky design where you have a screw and then you put another screw in it, and when you tighten that outside screw, the inside screw wants to tighten, and then when you go to loosen it, the inside screw wants to loosen. It's just weird. It's weird. I mean,
and of course, the outside screw is pretty delicate on its own too. It's
oh man, the
very
threads
fine
are
threads and very
Yeah.
very small screw to begin with. You can't put a lot of torque on it.
either that or I wish. Now, see, here's the thing: they can't just be welded in or machined into the frame, because if you strip them out, how do you change it, right? But yeah, I've often thought about that. That's one of the major weak points of the 1911. I've never, mostly because my Springfield currently, now it's fixed for now. I've staked it in place, but it has a stripped bushing. The bushing at one point, I just kept tightening it, and it just turned and turned and turned, and nightmare. All right, let me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we could call it an archaic design, perhaps.
Yeah.
For the any Glock shooters or any the modern pistols or the military guys that have experience with the M9, field stripping is so much different and so much easier.
Yeah.
On what we have now, but you have to look. They were still learning everything back then.
Yeah.
If you look at just the thoughtfulness of the design itself, though, just the way everything is integrated.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
how did he think of that?
Yeah, just like I think about that often. Every time I take a 1911 apart, I'm just like, this wasn't an accident. That somebody actually thought, like, okay, then this piece will hold this thing in, and this thing will do that, and like, it's just, I love it. Real quick, I want to get to some comments.
Sure.
Let's see. Yes, yeah. Let me back up. Missed a lot of comments. Yes, Matt with Wyoming says it's all about correct timing. 100%, man.
Yep.
Yeah, this is also, again, we should just give so much credit to John Moses, because this is at a time where semi-automatics, even just magazine-fed semi-automatics, were like, they didn't exist, and then suddenly they did. And John Moses was one of the really early pioneers of that. And this whole idea, that's what it was so hard for them to figure out, because we've had magazines for, 80 years before that. There's weapons that had, magazines to store ammunition. The problem is how do you get the gun to fire and then get the gun to automatically get rid of the brass and put a new bullet in there? That's not easy. And seeing Arsenal's videos, they've done some great art illustrations about this, talking about, like, magazines are really hard to do. They're actually really hard to get right. And it's not the recoil thing. Putting a spring in the gun's not hard. It's when you fire, getting that slide to go back, and then having that magazine pop up at just the right angle, at just the right time. And then once that slide starts coming forward, it's got to strip off that bullet. But then what happens? Where does it go? Where it just strip off and pop out? No, you got to manage and handle that bullet through every stage of the feed. And the fact that he did it so well is just remarkable.
Yeah, if you look at 1911's contemporaries, now it's a little bit before the 1911, but the Mauser, the broom handle Mauser,
Yep.
which they had an internal magazine you had to load with a stripper clip. But if you look at like a Steyr Hahn, which is from 1912,
Yes.
those load from the top. I have a buddy that's got a couple of them. I've got a lot of trigger time on them. They are cool as can be.
They're so cool.
But they seem like they are 20 years older in design concept than what Browning had, except for the rotating barrel they had, which was pretty unique. But very archaic method of loading, just like a bolt action rifle. Put a stripper clip in the top, you feed the rounds down in. You did it you did a discussion about that early on one of your earlier videos, where you said that the real sticking point with all the semi-automatic pistol designs was getting the magazine right. That was the hardest single thing to achieve, was getting a reliable magazine, because there are so many variables that come into play.
Yeah,
and
everything.
Like Matt said, timing is everything. Yep. And that's why That's why your spring weights on a 1911, your mainspring and your recoil spring, and it depends if you're shooting a 5-inch or a commander. I played around with an officer's model 25 years ago, and it was actually very reliable, but I never really trusted it because everything has to happen so quickly on a gun that short.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it just freaks me out. And I often say, look, I mean, everybody's free to do what they want. I'm not going to call anybody a retard for it, but I do think I just always ask the question: what are you really getting with lopping off 3/4 of an inch on a pistol? Like a couple ounces. But now what you're adding into the mix is you got a different feed ramp, you've got a different recoil spring, you've got a different dwell time. Like the whole system has now been altered. Now, I'm going to be getting a TSOS Commander soon. That's probably going to be my next purchase for the channel, because these commanders, these tank commanders, seem to be. I mean, I'm getting like rave reviews about them. But I will say, going back like 15 years when I first started, when Larry Vickers was really active in all this, he always used to say, man, 5-inch, all steel, 45, single stack, bushing barrel, like that's the only thing that's proven in combat. Everything else is just not really worth it. And then he talked about the length discussion. He's like, the shortest I'd go is Commander, and I quote, even those don't work well. And so that's kind of stuck with me, that like, and that's been my experience too. But I'm willing to give them another try. I mean, I'm happy to be wrong, put it that way. And by the way, we've hit another milestone, 102 people in here.
Oh, fantastic.
It's you, Jolly. They want to see you. All right, let's catch up on some comments.
I highly doubt that. Although I have my...
There you go. You came ready.
I'm prepared. Semper Paratus.
There you go. Let's catch up here. Donald Hayes here. Yeah, external extractors. Big Truck asked, what's y'all's take on external extractors? I just genuinely don't like them. I know it's kind of the modern thing. That's the way of the world now. I just think it's when you have the 1911's all steel, just old school extractor, it's just so bulletproof. It's hard to screw them up. It's hard to break them, I've never broken an extractor. I know it happens to people. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never had that happen. But I've broken 2 external extractors, and one of them was on video for this channel. So, granted, the whole Springfield thing, I think they used a MIM part, but I always just ask the question, what does it get me? Why? What's the benefit of an external extractor? And I don't know that there is one.
Yeah, I don't have any experience with the older high powers that had the internal extractor. I would think that it would be better also, just like it is on a 1911.
Mm-hmm.
The high powers I have are more modern, so they have the external extractor.
Yep.
I can see where that could get packed with mud and crud and all kinds of things. So I like the fact that you don't need a separate spring for an internal extractor because it is a spring itself.
It is.
And once it's tensioned properly, I've told you that Colt that I have with 25,000 rounds, I've never touched the extractor except when I've had it out for cleaning. I've completely field stripped the gun.
I have my Springfield up on screen. You can't see it, Charlie, but it's there. This gun has the original extractor in it. I have never messed with it, actually, until recently, only because I dropped it on the concrete and put a little burr on it, so I had to fix that. But this gun probably has minimum 12,000 rounds through it. I'm being super ultra conservative because I want to be honest, but I don't know, man. Let's read some more messages here. Larry Dutry said, never had an issue with 8-rounders from Colt over 21 years. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we all have to make our own value judgments, right? For me, I'm kind of a freak about these things. So even if I don't have a failure, I can feel the way that gun feeds, and I can feel like it's struggling, it's not feeding optimally. And so for me, that's enough to go, no. Some people, their line is just failures. It's like, is it failing or isn't it? And if that's you, that's okay. But yeah, at the end of the day, look, what I always follow up my strong opinions with is, if it's working for you, don't change anything. Like, I you know.
If the expensive magazines work for you, if that's what you like and it works for you, go for it.
Yep.
I'm not trying to change anybody's mind on any of this. This is just more general information. I get a lot of questions offline about stuff.
Yeah.
And just because people don't know. And I'm just trying to get a little bit of information out there. You know, things that I know and then things that I've experienced.
Yep.
Again, not claiming to be an expert.
No, me neither. I haven't arrived, but I've left. That's the way I like to say it. Yeah, John, I saw your comment. It's okay. Cat's out of the bag at this point. Let's see. Robert says, I have the Colt CULT commemorative 100-year 1911. That thing was flawless. Yeah, I really wanted one of those bad. But man, like, I could literally get it pre-war 1911 for cheaper than those pistols. They sell for like almost $5,000 now. It's insane. And I'm kicking myself. Last year I saw one on Gunbroker. It sold for $1,100. And it was mint. Like, yeah, I'm kicking myself on that one. Crack, 100 viewers and only 5 updoots. Yes. Yeah, no, man, this is the most we've ever had, for sure. Normally I average like between 50, 70 on the high end, but this is awesome. I'm glad you guys are here. Yeah, we've got a couple super chats. I appreciate you guys. That helps out a lot. This is an expensive YouTube channel to run, so all that helps for sure. Let's see, almost caught up here. Damon says, I just put down money on a mismatched Ithaca slide with a 1915 Colt frame. I agree with this decision.
I do too. I put together a Frankenstein with a 1913 frame and a 1912 slide. They were both commercial. And even the commercial versions then had the rounded rear sight that was niter blued. And it was a bit rough. I ended up giving it away to a guy whose father had worked at Colt for like 40 years.
That's cool.
And he had nothing from his family, with regard to his father working there. And I said, here, take this thing. It's just a Mixmaster Frankenstein gun anyway, but it was really cool. I shot it a lot, even though the parts of them were basically butter soft.
Yep.
Rockwell 23 or something on them. So
that's what I worry about getting a real vintage one. I'm not saying I would shoot it all the time, but you have to shoot that, right?
Yeah. And
I think I would implode into a neutron star if I shot it and cracked it. Like, I would die.
Yeah, my 1914 Colt, I shot 50 rounds of very mild 230 ball that I loaded up, really mild stuff, and cleaned it and put it away. And that was 28 years ago. It's never going to get shot again. But yep. I had to do it once.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And by the way, it was flawless.
I bet it was. Yeah, I just watched the Garand Thumb video on the original 1911 today. And I've rewatched that video.
The opening of that video is awesome.
Oh, his little skits he does, like
it's like movie quality.
Yeah, it's incredible. I do have one there's something annoying that the tactical community always says, and that is because they have their alternate gun in that video is like a Musoc build, and it's got a light on it, and they say, well, the light reduces recoil. The light does not reduce recoil. This is such a bone I have to pick. So when you fire, does the extra mass reduce the amount of recoil in one direction? Yes, but now that extra mass is moving and it requires more force from you to slow it down and stop it. And so I'm going to be doing a video on this where I'm going to do some slow-mo footage of a gun with a light versus without. And the guns with a light have less muzzle flip, but they have more waggle overall, because now you're having to control that extra mass as it moves around. For me, the flattest guns I can shoot are the ones with nothing on them. I don't know if you have had the same experience, but I
have, and going back to recoil springs, if you go up to like an 18.5 or something like that, as the gun goes back into battery, the muzzle dips on you now. So you actually, if you time yourself, it'll probably take more time to get back on target if you're using a heavier recoil spring, because it works in the opposite direction. It forces the muzzle down when the slide goes into battery.
This is something you and I talked about the other day. So on my Colt, see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. So this is with a 16-pound spring. That's pretty flat. That's not some high whiz bang super tune supercalifragilistic system. That's just a 16-pound carbon steel spring. Then I went and put in that 18.5-pound spring. That thing sucks to shoot. Like, the recoil is awful. It's harder in every way. Like, it just feels like the whole gun is bucking. And I'm just such a firm believer, man. The 16-pound springs, 17, because they end up kind of breaking down, into that 16 range. But the 18.5s, they're just no fun to shoot at all. They're not. And to your point, yes, like you shoot and it's literally like, not only is the rearward recoil weird, but again, yes, the dip, it's like the gun is snatching forward really hard, especially if the gun feeds smooth like mine does. There's not a lot stopping it from going back forward, All right, just got a awesome super chat from Porthos. Thank you, man. He said, thanks for streaming, gents. Looking at getting another full-size, possibly a used TRP or Valor. Just curious, how do you feel about GI versus Beaver Tail? Does the GI have any plus? That's a great question. You want to take that one first?
Well, I like GI, and most of my 1911s are set up in a GI configuration. But you will find, Matt mentioned this on one of his videos, that the edges of a GI grip safety, they can tend to be abrasive. Some of them are kind of sharper than others. Yeah, you'll get a callus there, or you'll get some chafing or something there. But if you're going to shoot a lot of rounds, especially something like 230 ball, they're definitely not as comfortable. So if you pick up something that's got a real true beaver tail on it and it's blended, it's night and day different. Just I guess it depends. Once you pick something up, you're almost always going to go with like a blended beaver tail.
Mm-hmm.
I've just gotten used. My hands are so calloused, and I've got the spots on there from hammer bite and everything else.
Yeah.
I've got some pretty carnivorous 1911s in my stable here. So, yeah. They extract their pound of flesh.
They sure do. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my view, too, that, like, so pulling back up the Springfield, I installed a beaver tail on that one, and, it's fine, but I have found that, I say it all the time, man, just let that thing eat, let yourself heal, and then let it eat, and let yourself heal, and eventually, I don't know if you guys can see this, but, like, It's just, I look like a burn victim in one tiny little spot. It's just chewed up, and
It's
yeah,
a 1911 rite of passage.
that's right. You know what? We need to come up with a name for that. There's Grand Thumb, and what is this? It's like Beaver Hand or something. That sounds bad. But yeah, I that's always been my view. Even shooting 1911s with really big wide spur hammers, you just get used to it. And I think there's so much functionality to a wide spur hammer, which is why I stick with those. And for me, I think the beaver tails tend to stick in your side a little more when you're carrying. So there's benefits and drawbacks to both, but if I'm picking one, I'm going to stick with the GI. I just find that, and also I'll say this, I talk about dropping guns a lot, and it sounds like I drop guns a lot, and it's because I do. I don't mean to, but it's just happened a lot in my life. But drop a beaver tail on the beaver tail and watch what happens. It's not a blessing. Those beaver tails can bend, and it's gone forever. You can't get them back. Whereas a GI, you're not bending a GI tang. That's not possible. No.
Yeah, they're hard enough just to grind and reprofile if you try doing that.
Fact. Absolutely. Okay, so Jamie Leon de la Parra, that is I see why women find you attractive. Before I heard your words of wisdom on staying with the 16-pound recoil spring, I threw in an 18 from Wilson Combat, ran through 100 rounds. Otherwise I'll go back. Yeah, I mean, what I would encourage you to do, is go to the range, shoot a mag with the 18, and then throw in the 16. I promise you're gonna pick the 16.
Yeah.
It feels like in our head that the 18 should make it shoot softer. It just doesn't.
Better yet, if you have the ability to do so, if you have two 1911s, have one with an 18 or an 18 and a half and another with a 16, and just shoot them side by side. Pick one up, dump a magazine, pick the other one up, and do the same thing. You'll notice a huge difference.
Absolutely. Crack asked, might the gun with the light be an M&P? Yes, that's my next range trip. I think that's going to be a long day, but I have like 8 guns that I've got to film for. Probably going to fry my iPhone to death that day. Let's see here. Yeah, so let's talk about this for a second. Jamie also came back and said on Wilson Combat's website they recommend 18 pounds for 230 grain ball. So here's the deal. Every builder has their opinions. And particularly when we're talking about Bill Wilson is he runs a business. His goal is to sell things. Now, I'm not saying everything he's saying is like dishonest or he's only saying things to sell things. I think his opinions are, they're probably honest opinions, frankly. But at the same time, like, it's the kind of the same thing with shock buffs, right? Like, here's a solution to a thing where there's no problem, basically. I know there have been problems, like Mike Holt. That's a thing. But anyway, when you talk about what he's recommending, very often the argument is, well, the 230 grain ball they used a long time ago with the 16-pound springs is different from the ball that we have now. Well, not that much. Only by about 50 feet per second. That's not enough to really change the equation. Then on top of that, here's what's interesting. The original 1911s were spec'd out with something like a 16-pound spring. Then you get to the A1s, they dropped the spring weight to something like a 14, 15-pound spring. And by that point, the ball was hotter. So this idea that we have that somehow, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't all the way compute. And so I still think 16 is fine. And it's an anecdote, but all my guns run 16-pound springs, including my Springfield with probably more than 13,000 rounds through it. The gun's fine. And there's God knows how many old military GI frames that were running 16-pound springs for 80 years, right? I mean, so Bill Wilson saying that, I mean, look, I think it comes from the place where him and Masad Ayub do a video and talk about how bad it is to drop your slide on an empty chamber. There's no explanation for why that's bad, but it's just bad. And so I think they're coming from a world of they're really trying to baby these guns, make them last as long as they can. I get it. But I just don't personally see the justification for that. I'm not sure if you had a point on that, Jolly, but
as far as dropping the slide on an empty chamber, the only thing I can see, and I don't think they've ever talked about it, is perhaps the interface between the slide and the barrel hood. I could see that possibly getting peened over, getting softened, with a lot. You'd have to do it a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's other people on here right now that started back when I did in the military. We had 1911s when I started. The Berettas were coming in, but I trained on 1911s. And I had family members, World War II, Korea vets, and they're all like, oh, you can't hit a thing with them because they're so loose. They always ran, though. They always worked.
Yep.
And, we had 1911s that I remember seeing somewhere where the service life, actually I think it was the new CNR Arsenal video, where they said the service life of an A1 was about 7,500 rounds.
Yep.
We probably had ones that had 100 or 200,000 rounds through them.
Easy.
No doubt about it. And the frames, there was no peening on the frames.
None.
The slides were not chewed up.
Yep.
As a lot of people know, if they know their 1911s, the older ones, the slides were more prone to cracking than anything.
That's right.
But that's the only thing I can see as far as some of those discussions. I've watched those Masayu discussions with Bill Wilson and the ones with Ken Hackathorn. They talk about not doing that more, I think, for longevity.
Yeah.
And they talk about the sear hammer interface, the hammer hooks, dropping that. But the thing I can see, like I said, is maybe the barrel hood possibly getting battered somewhat.
I could see that.
But I don't do that. It could happen on any gun.
Yeah.
The guns lock up differently now. You look at a Glock; it locks up on the slide.
That's right.
And it locks up differently. It doesn't have locking lugs like a 1911.
Yep.
But the same thing could happen on any gun. I'm not aware of it ever happening though. I'm just saying it's one of those things. Well, it could,
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I don't even use the slide release. To me, I call it a slide lock. That's what I use it for, is just to lock the slide to the rear. I use the slide serrations to run the gun. So I almost never, every once in a while I will, but I don't know why. I just don't use it.
I practice that way. It's how I was taught, way back when. But, most people just do it over the top.
Yep.
Just pull back and let it go.
Yep.
So it works. And it does. You can have wear on the slide stop notch, definitely, if you do it a lot. And that's one thing I do remember from the military days on 1911s. Those areas of the slides were pretty heavily worn.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something I think that's probably where it comes from for me. Is I don't want to swear. I don't want to wear out that slide stop notch. I think it would be hard to do on a forged gun, but
I think so too.
Yeah. DB says, I don't enjoy bleeding when I shoot. Well, that's why no one will remember your name. I'm just joking. No, man, look, I get it. I mean, it sucks, but, you get on the other side of it, and now you get one of these. You get,
Well, I can tell you something I did early on in shooting 1911s. I had one that just would draw blood on about the third round.
Yeah.
And, I was one of those kitchen table Dremel commandos. All I did is I reprofiled the back edge of the hammer, and I just rounded it. It looked very nice. hit it with some cold blue, and that problem was over with.
There you go.
Mess with the grip safety tang at all. I just recontoured the very back of the hammer. It was a Colt, very sharp, and I just took that sharp edge off, rounded it, blued it. I still have that in a gun right now. I did that 35 years ago.
That's cool.
And very simple, 5-minute job.
Yep. Let's see here. Yeah, so Michael says, I know you guys aren't much for the Commander size, but I have to say my old Kimber Pro HD2 stainless is awesome. Yeah, again, man, there's a lot of examples out there where people are just, I know a guy with, what was the Springfield, the EMPs?
EMP.
Yeah. To me, that gun's just, it's an abortion. I can't look at it. But this buddy of mine, it runs well for him, so who am I?
I have you've seen it, Traveler. I have that two-tone Colt Combat Commander.
Mm-hmm.
And it was made in 1993. It was one of the early enhanced models, for those who know what those are. And I'm just starting to work with that. So I have no opinion on it yet, other than it's pretty because it's two-tone.
Yeah.
But I'm anxious to see how it works out. And as we discussed earlier, there's a lot of difference that you think, well, they lopped 3/4 of an inch off of a government model and they've got a Commander. Well, even the feed ramp is different. It's got a different angle.
Yep.
So there's a lot of difference in those guns. But I had a 9mm lightweight Commander from Colt. That thing was sweet. But 9mm 1911 doesn't do much for me.
No.
But I do think if you're going to go with a Commander, that caliber works.
Yeah.
The very first Commanders were a 9mm. That's what it was designed with originally.
Okay. See, that makes sense though. Like, to me, if I was going to go Commander, it almost it just feels wrong to go with a 45. And so, they make that tank Commander in 9mm, and so maybe that's what I do.
Yeah, Colt was trying to get an Army contract after World War II, and the Army specifically called for a 9mm. And Colt came up with a version of the 1911. There were also size limitations on it, and Colt basically came up, with a chopped 1911, government model, chopped it down 3/4 of an inch, and chambered it in 9mm. And 9mm and your 38 Super or Super 38, Eli, if you're out there, they have experience building guns like that, or they have, for decades. But,
yeah, I'm sure.
I found that a 9mm Commander, from my experience, is much more reliable than a 9mm full-size 1911.
I could see that.
They have far fewer problems.
Yep.
The 9mm cartridge just doesn't have enough, I'll say, arse.
Yeah.
It doesn't operate the sliders reliably. The one I have, my full-size 9mm 1911, it needs hot ammo. It just does. Either something I load or shoot plus P in it, and it's very reliable. But it does not like wimpy loads. Yeah. But the Commander would eat everything, regardless.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense though. So Monkey said a ring hammer will fix hammer bite. That's a good point too. That's a real easy solution. Now here's the only thing though, is it's not just a hammer. You have the sear interfacing with the hammer hooks, and so you're kind of gonna change the way that gun feels. Well, you could, and so try it. Absolutely, drop a new hammer in there, but you need to do all your safety checks and make sure that not all parts are drop-in.
No, you might have a better trigger afterward, but you might have a far worse trigger.
Indeed.
Just by swapping the hammer. Also, keep in mind what you have for either a grip safety or a beaver tail. If you switch hammers, they've got to be compatible.
That's a good point.
And a grip safety, most of them need to actually be fitted. They're not drop-in either.
Yeah, so that's a good point with, Colt's A1 Tang safeties are real fat, right? Whereas a lot of companies, they're thin and they sort of taper in the back. And the thinner ones facilitate a wide spur hammer. It allows that hammer to go all the way back and engage those hooks at the rearward position of the recoil cycle. Whereas Colt's, Not always. Sometimes that fat tang stops the hammer, and what you'll find is you'll pull the slide back and let it go. You get hammer follow because it never engaged. Now, luckily, John Moses Browning put a half cock notch in there, and it does its job. But
Yep.
yeah, you really got to test that stuff out.
But a commander hammer is a good solution to hammer bite, no doubt.
Indeed. I love me a good ring hammer, man. They look good. Let's see here. Crack says, I sold my EMP 40 after one range trip. Well, that sounds like more my speed. I almost bought one. So there's been a couple times, but one of the times where I almost had to use my pistol in self-defense, I was going to look at a Springfield EMP. And so that gun for me, maybe there's some like subconscious voodoo going on there that I don't like them because I almost had to blast somebody. But Ron Reed, wondering if Colt's QC will improve since CZ took over. My friend, let me recommend to you a 5-part series on my channel, and that will answer that question. The answer is a big fat steaming no. It's worse than it ever was, and it's not just me. The Colt QC is in the toilet. So it's extremely hit and miss. Some people have fantastic results. Some people have results like I did, but the one thing that is true across the board is it's inconsistent.
Yeah, agreed.
Some of these comments, I'm not going to say these out loud. You're gonna DB said you're gonna need to change to a different grip safety if you change the hammer. Sometimes, absolutely. Yeah, you got to make sure everything works. And here's what I would also recommend. When I first started getting into building 1911s, the source of information I had was the guys teaching me. Thank God for that. I actually had mentors. Obviously books, things like that. But there's something that, that really even the books can't tell you, and that is what parts work with what guns. That is kind of up in the air, right? So, like, for instance, my T-Sauce that's sitting over there, I can't pick it up. Ed Brown mainspring housings, very little fitment. There's a little bit, but it's very little. Wilson Combat, however, holy crap on a spatula. I mean, that took 2.5 hours to fit that thing. Almost every dimension required some sort of massaging. So, but anyway, in the early days, all I had was forums. I just had to go on there and ask people like, hey, does this work? Does that work? And I got some help, but this is why I'm such a proponent of in-spec guns, because you just know what you're getting. If I go buy, like, there's a litany of parts that I buy that are just, I know what I'm getting. I don't need to think about it. Harrison design, cylinder and slide, T-Sauce parts, honestly, are excellent. Colt, hit and miss. Very hit and miss. Their grip safeties are fine, but then sometimes you get mainspring housings that are off. Who else? Wilson Combat obviously makes pretty good stuff. Ed Brown. And so you kind of learn over time. Like, I know Ed Brown really mates up well with Springfield. Wilson Combat, depends on the part. A lot of Wilson Combat stuff is drop in. Some of it's not even close. So,
Let me throw one more out there. EGW.
yes, thank you.
Evolution Gunworks. Their mainspring housings are fantastic, but you might have to do some fitting. And on all of my Colts, they're pretty much a drop-in part. But I've had to do some fitting if I use one on a Springfield frame.
Yep.
And that's just common. Like you said, the Ed Browns might require some fitting. But they're beautifully made.
They are.
They're expensive, but you're getting quality.
Yep. Let's see here. Harrison Design makes some nice ring hammers. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I just love Harrison. They're to me, they're up there with like Cylinder and Slide and Turnbull, and their stuff is made with care. It's so consistent. Like, I can almost guarantee if I get a Harrison medium trigger, it's going to be 18 strokes on one side, flip it over, 18 strokes on the other, and it's going to slide right in my pistol. It's that consistent.
Yeah, it's like a 5-minute fitment.
Yeah.
There's no work involved.
Yep. And they're just the right size. They're not, because what I don't like to do is to have to file the bow. That freaks me out.
Yeah.
And these bows are just, they're not perfect in terms of like they fit every gun, but they fit the average gun really nicely. All right. Let's opinion on the Mac Musoc clone. Heard it's made by TSOS. It is. I have not even had my hands on them, but I will tell you, man, everything I'm seeing from them, it's a hitter. 100%. You got to think of it, man. Like, if you wanted to build a Musoc clone, you're going to spend some money. That can become a very expensive project, because if you want to do it right, you're going to need the old school Springfield roll mark slide. And then there's companies that you can source the parts from that actually make those still to this day. But you're going to spend some money. Or you can get this Mac. You get 90% of the way there, 95% of the way there. The gun passes the 15-foot test. And if it were me today, I would buy the Mac. That's.
Yeah, if you're going to build one yourself, I have some of the parts from KC's Custom, and he used to actually build them for real.
That's the one, KC's Custom.
And if you want his grip safety, his thumb safety, which is an ambi, it's $185.
Which is, that's what I mean. It gets up there.
Yeah. You're going to have as much of that as if you're trying to find a Springfield's the correct slide on eBay or something. You're going to have nearly as much in the small parts as you will, in major parts.
Yeah, I once went on there and, I filled up my shopping cart just to see how much would it be. It was going to be like $900 in parts, and I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah, I can't show any of them, but I have those parts here, so I know what you went through. So.
That's going to be a cool gun, though. But that's the thing is there's no more legit parts than those. Those are,
Exactly.
That's it. Colt uses a bunch of outsourced parts from India these days. Well, based on my experience, that sounds about right. Can you change mayonnaise Jello? You got to change your name, bro. That's bad. Can you change the grip safety without changing the hammer? No, not always. So particularly if you're going to if you have a wide spur or even just a type E hammer and you're going to a beaver tail, it's not going to work. You're going to have to change it. All that stuff, man, has to work together. The whole gun is designed to work with itself. And so it's just not like a Glock. You can't just swap parts super easily.
Let me throw a couple of bits of information out there.
Please.
With regard to that. There are two spur type hammers that I know of that are available that can work with a traditional beaver tail. One is the John Harrison hammer, which I have one here. And also 10-8 Performance makes a bobbed hammer that will work with a traditional grip beaver tail. It's very short though.
Yep.
So it kind of looks kind of funky. But it's a good part. I have some of his parts as well. I've tried them out. And the quality is excellent on his parts. Far fewer parts available than the others, but slide stops are really nice. I have the hammer, and some of the 10-8 sights are nice too. I have those as well. But you can get a spur type hammer that is essentially bobbed. The nice one, I think, is the one from John Harrison. It's a beautiful piece of kit, just beautiful.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Larry Dutry said HR Funk did a video series on the Musoc. Yeah, that's the one I watched. And he's very in-depth.
He did a really good video on the Tank Commander also.
Yep.
For those of you that are interested in a TSOS Commander, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Well, so did Matt did a good video on, the service model. I think. So
I think so.
But it had a ring hammer on it.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, man, there's so many guns. Like one of the TSOS guns I wanted to do was the B45R, which is basically the full size railed 1911. You know, for home defense. And look, I know people there's one guy who has a TSOS Raider with a light on it, and he carries that sucker concealed. So he's nobody's taking that fella's man card. Yeah. Yeah, respect, genuinely. Which was funny on that side note. I was talking to somebody the other day, and you know, I carry full size all steel 45s, you know, and they're like, God, dude, how do you do that? And I'm just like, just be a man, you know. Just you know, I mean, but here's the thing, all the people who ask that, not all, most of the time, if you just look at what they're wearing like, you know, shorts, Crocs. It's like you got to put on pants and wear a fat leather belt, and you know, like, you got to dress to the gun.
It's very doable. I've been doing it for over 15 years, going on 20.
Yep.
Very doable.
100%. What triggers would you recommend if you can't find Harrison? My next would be cylinder and slide. You probably would agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're almost identical. The thing I like about Harrison, so I prefer their medium smooth solid trigger. That's my favorite trigger. I don't want texture on the front of the trigger. That's yours as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but what I specifically like about theirs is the set screw, or the over travel adjustment screw, is in the back of the trigger, so that you get this nice clean face. You don't have the hole in the front. The cylinder and slide has the hole in the front. So that's really the big difference, I think.
Yeah, otherwise they look almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
But I much prefer the Harrison with the over travel screw in the back.
Yep.
And it's very easy to adjust that too.
Yeah.
Not as easy as having it in the front, but it's not hard.
Do you go?
Once you understand what's going on in there, it's very easy.
Yeah. Do you go up through or go through the side, take a grip panel off, and go that way, or?
No, I actually just do the old cut and try. I fit them, you know, do an adjustment to it, put it in, check everything, and if I need to go more. It takes me a while. That's the one part of fitting one of those that I do spend a lot of time on.
Yes.
Like you said earlier, though, top and bottom of the shoe, 18, 20 strokes or something on a file or a stone,
Yep.
and it'll drop right in. I spend a little more time fitting them. I have this Commander that I mentioned earlier. I got a fantastic trigger pull on that, and it's got that. I got the right amount of not over travel, but reset, exactly what I wanted, and it's perfection. I put it up against anybody.
Yeah, man. I was telling you offline that I got my my main TSOS trigger. I mean, dialed so perfect. I put the Harrison medium smooth in there. A little bit of take up. Get to the wall. Zero creep. Just a nice it's probably like a 4.8 pound trigger. That's where I like it. I don't like really light triggers. I think somewhere between 4.8, 5.2, like that's the sweet spot for me. Super clean. Now what I don't like too is when the trigger breaks and you have absolutely zero over travel, where it breaks and you don't even feel it go to the rear. I don't like that. I actually want it to sort of pop past that point a little bit. And then I come out, reset. But anyway, I did the same thing. Fitted it top and bottom. And then I figured out a way to where if you have the grip panels off, you can get to that set screw through the side if you take one of your long Allen wrenches.
Yeah.
And just bend it at a 45, then you can get in there without having to take the gun apart. But yeah, either way, you got to do it right. Because like on that one, I had to, or no, it was on the Springfield. It required a lot of adjustment. It just didn't fit as well as it does on the TSOS guns. So I had to install the set screw all the way in, but it was still too long. But without it, the over travel's wacky. Yeah. So I had to just file the end of that set screw down, and eventually got it good, but
For those who haven't done it, it's worth the effort, though.
yeah.
It really is.
Would you say that's a good? Because I feel like if somebody's wondering about getting into working on their 1911s, I feel like the two big things to start with are like a trigger and a thumb safety.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The thumb safety is probably the most intimidating thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're buying an aftermarket one that's $65, $75, $100.
Yeah.
Because you don't get too many chances to make a mistake on that. But that's why you go slowly, though.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
One or two file strokes and then check it,
Yep.
or stone, whatever you use on it, and then check it. And then you don't go too far.
yeah, I've had people criticize me because of how long I take on fitting parts, but it's like the people who say that haven't broken enough parts yet. You know?
Think about how critical that is, because if you don't have that right and it fails and you get hammer drop, hammer follow, all you've got is your half top notch
Yep.
to prevent an accidental discharge.
Yep.
So there's a really good video up on YouTube, and it really shows the relationship of the thumb safety to the hammer itself in both the on and off positions, and I think it's a real eye opener if people watch that.
Mm-hmm.
You can really see what's going on in there, because it's kind of hard to visualize if you don't know.
Yeah.
So, but that's an area where I don't compromise. I take my time on the thumb safety. It's worth it too.
Yep.
And we have somebody watching who's particularly persnickety about thumb safeties.
Who's that?
That's Matt.
Oh, okay.
Anybody's- Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Is
I
Matt-
agree with him, though.
is he
That's
still
kind
here?
of one of my pet peeves too.
Matt, are you still in the chat? I wonder if he's still here.
Yeah. People have watched his videos when he does his reviews. That's something that he goes over on every review of a 1911. But
Well,
they're not that hard to fit. Just you go slowly,
Mm-hmm.
have the right tool for it.
yeah, but
Don't
you're
be
absolutely
greedy.
yeah. It's so what I like to do and what I recommend to people is TSOS. They sell thumb safeties. They're forged. They're $35. They're excellent, actually. But it's a good way to get into the feel of a forged part for a really affordable price. Now, the only downside is every single one I've bought has required zero fitting. So, a little bit of a problem there. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great place to start. Probably the trigger, I would say, would be number one. Because, you got to take equal amounts off top and bottom. So it's not sitting cattywampus. And then you got to play with that over travel. And I just think it's so edifying to just, as you're working on the gun, you're feeling and you're going, why is this doing this? And you start to learn how everything interacts with each other. And, yeah, it's a blast.
Yeah, the rewarding thing with that is when you find the sweet spot and you just know it, like, I'm there. Stop right here. I'm there,
Now, what I've learned to do is I stop at 95% when I feel like I'm about to be there and I'm going to stop because I want it to wear in the rest of the way.
Yeah, I do that especially with hammer and sear fitment.
Yeah,
I get it close, and then I try to finish it by shooting it.
Yep, 100%. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here soon, probably in the next 10 minutes. So let me get through some more of these comments. Appreciate you guys watching. By the way, 106 people. This is crazy, man.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Glenn says get a gun belt that has a 1/4 inch. Oh, I lost it. Yeah, in terms of gun belts and like gear, man, I've been using the same. I can't even remember the name of the company. I've been using the same leather belt for like forever. It's just a real thick I want to say 1.5 inch wide leather. It's an actual gun belt. It's not just a belt. That's just what I use. I've used the nylon. Like I used to have the Black Hawk Riggers belt, which is a great belt, and I still have mine. But eventually that nylon starts to fray, or you'll start to compact and smooth out the nylon. The Velcro starts to give way, and they don't last as long. And I've actually rappelled off of that Riggers belt when I was in fire school. So they work, but I'm just a fan of leather. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I am too. I'll make a recommendation. I have two belts by Hank Belts,
Mm.
and they're true gun belts. The leather is really thick. They offer a variety of buckle styles and things like that. I think they were each around $75, so they're not inexpensive.
That's
But
fair though.
I've been using them for years, and I carry my 1911s in leather. That's all I use.
Yep.
And the belts have held up extremely. I've got one on right now as I speak. So Hank belts or Hank's belts.
I'm gonna have to check them out.
I think they're made in the Carolinas or Virginia or somewhere. So American company. I check them out. Those of you on social media, they're on Instagram and other places, but you just go to their website. I think it's hanksbelts.com or something. But good quality belts.
I love it. Yeah, another one is El Paso. I've told my story with El Paso, but man, I'm very loyal to them because of what they did for me.
Any of the belts from the actual holster manufacturers are fantastic.
Mm-hmm. They're expensive though.
Very expensive.
El Paso, I think you're going to pay like $140 for a good belt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those buy once, cry once kind of things, man. Like,
yeah, that's how I look at it. I won't need to buy anything else unless I just want to change colors or style.
That's right.
I mean, what I have, I've been wearing for years, and they're fantastic.
Yeah. Big truck Magwells, not for me. I don't know. I'm look. Do they do something good? Yes. But I don't live in the high speed world. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah. In fact,
I was gonna say I'm working on a build. I've got a clone I'm working on it that requires a Magwell, but it'll be the only one I have.
Yeah, I mean, my TRP had a Magwell, and it was nice. Like, I don't hate them, but I'm a GI guy. I mean, I carry. Let me pull up that picture. That right there. You can't see it, but it's my T-Sauce with the white grips on it. That's literally the type of gun I carry. Medium trigger, all smooth. There's no texture on it whatsoever. GI sights. I'm weird.
Well, I second the GI sights. That's kind of definitely an anomaly in today's world, but they work.
And they're precise. That's what people think. They're small and hard to see. It's like, no. And they are designed that way from the start. That they are meant, if you have to take a shot at distance, there's no better sight. Those big giant mega block sights just don't do well at range.
No, most of my Colts, since they're newer, they have, the sight is a .125. It's an 1/8 inch wide sight, and it looks like a cinder block sitting down at the end of the slide. And think about something, especially shooting one-handed. Even at range, you're still point shooting.
Yep.
But you do have the detailed sight picture with that smaller sight.
Mm-hmm.
You have a small notch and a small post in the front. But I think it's more precise, especially when shooting one-handed.
I agree.
Because the gun is an extension of your arm. It's the farthest point of your arm when it's extended out. So you really have a long sight radius.
That's a good point.
That way, so.
It's a good point. All right. Whoa, Mikoki with a massive super chat. Thank you, man. Mikoki was the first one to ever do a super chat. When I first started this channel, my first live stream ever, he was the first one. And appreciate you, man. That, you don't know how much that means. It goes a long way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Matt and I were talking about this on his live stream, that and this is not one of those like sympathy grabs or anything like that, but you know, all of you guys know how expensive it is to shoot and buy things, right? Well, man, to do it for a channel where you have to do it with regularity. I mean, my ammo budget just to like kind of keep up is like $400 a month. Like, so it's not cheap. But that kind of stuff goes a long way, man. So I appreciate it, and it will go right back into the channel. Yeah, because I can't even reload fast enough to keep up with what I do for the channel. I have to buy ammo in. Let's see. Let's scroll ahead here. Yes, Glenn, as long as your pistol doesn't droop, that's true. That is a problem. Especially some people are built to where they're built like a pole, man, and it's really hard for them to carry a heavy gun. Honestly, my advice to some of those people has been, as goofy as it might sound, suspenders. You know, who was it? Othias with CN Arsenal talked about that. How he's built like that. He's built to a taper, and he wears suspenders. And you know what? My philosophy is, you do whatever the heck you got to do to carry the right gun. I just think that's, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're carrying an all-steel government model, you know, full-size 1911. There's a commitment there, and it has to be a total commitment.
Yep.
With, you know, you need a good holster, you need a good belt, and you need clothing. I carry outside the waistband, but I have a shirt over it.
There you go.
I've got some good inside the waistband holsters, but I mostly carry outside the waistband and just have a long t-shirt over it or something. But you have to be dedicated and committed to it.
100%.
It works. You can make it comfortable. You can make it work, definitely. But there's an investment in time and thought in it, too. You have to really think about what you're doing.
Yeah, the who was it? Oh, it was Eli Duckworth. His video on 1911 FUD myths. It's my favorite video from him. He says, you know, you have to dress like a man. You got to leave the house with proper clothes on, and it's true. Like, I have a friend who just got his first TSOS. His first 1911 that's ever, like, all he's ever had was like this one Glock. That's it. And got him into it, and he's like, well, you know, he like wears fitted shirts, and he's, you know, wears tight jeans and stuff. I'm like, not anymore, bro. You go a size up. Like, you have to give up. The way I often say it, it's an extreme example. It's being silly for sure, but if you have to dress like Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad to carry the proper gun, then that's what you got to do. You wear, like, for me, like these, I wear these big Carhartt shirts. They're one size too big. And these for me are the perfect concealed carry shirt. I can fit my 1911 under these, no problem. But they're big. It's not, you know, it's not a flattering shirt to wear, you know, but you know, also functionally just any t-shirt with a pocket, I'm like, yeah, I'm all about that. All right. Well, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to start wrapping it up. So I want to say thank you to everyone. And thank you to you, Jolly. This was great. I'm glad you came on here.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I hope that the information has been helpful to people. Like I said, I can't see comments or anything, but it's awesome that you had such a big turnout, you know, people checking in tonight.
Yeah.
And again, I hope it was useful information or thought-provoking at least. And, you know, look forward to doing this again sometime, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, we will. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, guys, watch tomorrow's video. The Toad, part 3 or 4, I don't remember which one it is, will be up. And I have 6 or 7 pre-recorded videos I have to edit. This next week is going to be legit. There's going to be a lot of fun. The next 2 weeks is going to have a lot of fun stuff. So, yep. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank everyone for your comments and for those that did the super chats.
100%.
Definitely.
Means the world, man. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, guys, take care.